Hi, I am Krista Kanak, and I'm a parent education specialist here at Starbridge. So today we're going to talk about functional behavior assessments and positive behavioral supports. So this topic is kind of near and dear to me as I do have a child in 7th grade who does have some challenging behaviors both at home and at school. And also a lot of the families I've been working with recently have also had students with challenging behaviors. So this one happens to be kind of near and dear to me as far as topics. So today our learning targets are to identify what an appropriate functional behavior assessment and behavior intervention plan look like. We're going to learn the New York State education regulations for FBA and BIPs. We're going to gain knowledge about the functions of behaviors and create some ways to support students in the school environment. And also we're going to recognize the purpose of using a multi-tiered system of support. So let's talk about challenging behaviors. We believe that challenging behaviors are learned and can be replaced by more appropriate behaviors. So problem behaviors must be understood within the context or setting in which they occur. So again, the goal is to replace the unwanted behavior with something that's more acceptable. So adults often have two different approaches to dealing with challenging behavior. These approaches are based on different beliefs. So the first is the belief that the child is the problem and therefore needs to be punished. And the second belief is that the child has a problem and therefore needs some help with skill building and development. So all behavior serves a purpose or has a function, and it's strengthened or reinforced by the environment. So in this scenario here, what can we do to support this young man? Well, if he's impulsive, you could certainly move one of the students or maybe put a reminder on his desk to remind him that hands to self, or maybe you could offer up a fidget toy. There are 3 levels or tiers of support to address the needs of students with inappropriate behaviors. So this is an RTI, or a response to intervention approach. And this is available to all students. It's a general education approach. And the first, it's a multi-tiered system of support. Tier 1 is universal supports. These are the strategies that a teacher uses in the classroom for all students. Tier 2, behavior interventions are more targeted and can involve small group instruction. And Tier 3 involves individual support. And we're going to talk into some more detail about each tier. First, let's talk about function-based thinking. So this is a model for thinking about problematic behaviors exhibited by students. It's an assessment to look at the behavior in an objective manner. So the function-based thinking will guide Tier 2 conversations and supports. So educators are looking at what might be the function of the inappropriate behavior. So what's the payoff for the student doing the behavior? We need to remember that behavior is communication, and we're trying to put our detective hats on and figure out what the student is trying to communicate with the inappropriate behavior. The goal of function-based thinking is for a teacher to independently think functionally about problematic student behavior and then select an intervention that serves the same function without the support of multiple team meetings. So the goal really is to help guide the adults who are working with the students that are struggling. So function-based thinking is objective and is looking at the why or the function of a problem behavior. Then we have some information on how to replace the inappropriate behavior with a more acceptable behavior. So for example, if a student frequently calls out during independent reading time, the teacher then issues that student a detention notice. So then the student works with the teacher one-on-one during that detention time to complete the assignment. So guess what? Tomorrow, we see the same scenario play out. So the function of the calling out behavior may be to get the one-on-one attention and the support during reading, and the student really has quickly figured out how to get it. So by sending the student to detention and having that student receive that one-on-one support, the consequence is actually reinforcing the behavior. So remember, in function-based thinking, we're assessing the behavior, we're not judging it, and this really isn't and shouldn't be an emotional process. When we talk about function-based thinking, behaviors can be broken down into 4 possible functions. So maybe a student has sensory issues which result in problematic behavior. The student may seek sensory input, or maybe they're hypersensitive to lights, sounds, or activities in their environment, which could result in problematic behaviors. The second function of a behavior might be to escape. It could be a student is trying to escape a difficult task or escape a tough social situation. The third possible function is to gain attention. So it could be to get adult attention or maybe peer attention. And some of our students have a hard time discerning between good attention and negative attention, and they're fine with getting either. The fourth function of a behavior is to obtain something tangible. So this could be a toy, maybe an electronic device. It could be to gain control over a situation. So let's think about our student who was pulling the girl's braid. So what might be the function of that behavior? Well, sensory. Maybe he likes the feel of her braid. It could be escape. If he gets into trouble, does he get to leave the classroom? Does he like leaving the classroom? Or maybe he's a student that has some learning challenges and he's having trouble doing the classwork, and he may be trying to avoid or escape doing the work. Maybe the functions for attention. The girl's probably going to turn around and tell him to stop, therefore attending to the behavior. Or is it possible that the function is tangible? Is he looking to have power over the other student? You may be familiar with the ABCs of behavior: antecedent, behavior, and consequence. So if we start with B, this is the behavior, the problematic behavior that we're curious about. And then we look at A, the antecedent. So what happened before the behavior? What is the possible trigger for that problem behavior? So for example, if a student struggles with writing, and every time there's a writing task, that student puts his head down, we could then try a strategy to make the writing task more manageable, hopefully then avoiding more shutdowns. And the C is the consequence of the behavior. So consequence is not what we do to a student. The consequence is not a punishment, it's what the student gains from doing the behavior. So if we look at this cartoon, statistically, drooling is only cute for the first 6 months. After that, we'll have to start screaming in public to get any kind of attention. So if we can predict problem behavior due to expectations or demands, we need to do something different. So if we can predict that the child's going to want attention, that he's going to scream in public, knowing that, we can be better prepared. Maybe we offer him up a toy for distraction, or we can kind of give him lots of praise before we go into public, or kind of as we go into public, giving some attention along the way, thus hoping to prevent the screaming. Now let's talk about each of the tiers of support available to all students through, remember, general education. So Tier 1 includes strong classroom management, and school policy is the first line of support for all students. So we look at Tier 1 supports when the behavior you're curious about is not dangerous to your student or to others, and it's not impeding learning of students. So you're trying to understand why students engage in low-level behavior in the classroom. So these are universal expectations and policies which need to be well defined. So these are your school's code of conduct, which many schools have students take home and sign that they have read them. So what we need to kind of ask our students is, do they really understand the code? And in that classroom setting, how will the code be taught? And do students really understand what they're signing? So universal expectations, along with the code of conduct, character education within a school building, and also how we conduct ourselves at a school assembly are all part of classroom expectations and school policy. And the other question to ask is, do we as parents, do we know what the policies are? So here are some examples of rules that might be posted in a classroom and discussed on a regular basis. Tier 1 support might simply be reminding a particular student about being respectful to others, as that is one of our classroom rules. I statements can be posted as part of the classroom rules to help students internalize the rules. So again, these are all Tier 1 interventions. So if Tier 1 interventions aren't working, we then move up the continuum to Tier 2. So now in Tier 2, small group strategies or low-level targeted interventions should be tried and data is collected. So now we're starting to collect some data. In Tier 1, we're not really collecting that data. So at this point too, again, if Tier 1 isn't working and a student is struggling with behaviors, the teacher may receive assistance from the school-based team. Prior to that in Tier 1, that classroom teacher is managing the problem behavior kind of on her own. So at this time, there still is not a formal behavior plan, just some adjustments to the current environment. The behavior is not dangerous and it's not impeding the learning, but at this point there's concern that it might. So what does function-based thinking at Tier 2 look like? Well, it might involve some check-in, check-out sheets so that students can get and give some feedback on their behavior. It might be reflection sheets. It might be targeted social skills groups with students with like needs. A teacher and parents might be involved with some informal meetings about the behavior, and the teacher may be consulting with the school team. So again, at this point now the teacher is getting others involved in the process. So once we get to Tier 3, we're looking at highly intensive individual student supports. So at this point, the student may need an FBA, a functional behavior assessment. A behavior intervention plan may or may not be needed, or the school may use what's called a wraparound team. So this is school and community support coming together. So a wraparound team can include, it could be a behavior specialist, outside therapists, teachers, any PINs or FACS people, counselors both in or out of the school, and any family members. So the functional behavior process is initiated when previous interventions tried have not been successful. So a teacher or a parent can request an FBA. So at this point, which things that might have worked in Tier 2, like a lunch bunch, at this point that probably isn't going to be appropriate in Tier 3 because the kids at this level have different needs, and the group in Tier 2 really probably was more about developing some social skills. So parents have the right to request a functional behavior assessment at any time during that RTI process. You don't need to wait till a student gets to Tier 3. It could be initiated any time. So put all requests in writing and keep a copy that's dated for your records.